Hello everyone and welcome to episode 43 of the Stephen King podcast. We are back and this time we are going to talk a whole lot about Carrie in different format, and we are also having quite a lot of interesting news coming up. A lot of things have happened since the last podcast.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, welcome. Do not fear the door that lies before you. We will protect you. We are your guides, Hans and Lou, and we will give you the latest in Stephen King news. But before we do so, you must prove yourself worthy. You must open the door and join us in the death room. And to lead off with that, let's start with It. We've been reporting on this for a while now, and from Bloody Disgusting, the website, that it's planned to start filming in June, and True Detective Season 1 director Carrie Fukunaga is all set to go. We've seen differing reports about this being a trilogy, but I think that's an error. I think it's only going to be 2 movies. And
Yeah,
I personally like that structure. I think that's a cool idea to go with. And if you do a trilogy, that kind of breaks that structure of the adults versus the children. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. And of course, we're all just dying to find out who's going to be the new Pennywise.
Yeah, they should have casted him now if they're going to start shooting in just a few months.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they are secretive.
Yeah, I'm sure they're holding on to that probably for the maximum impact for when they actually do release the news as to who's playing it. Boy, I'm just, there's so many great actors out there. I'm just wondering who they got for this. It'd be very interesting.
Yeah. Another thing that has been casted is 11/22/63. It's going to air on Hulu in 9 episodes. And they released actually quite a lot of cast last week. Chris Cooper is going to play Al Templeton.
Awesome.
Who owns the diner. I think he could be perfect for that role.
Yeah, he's great choice. Great choice.
Yeah, both visually and performably. Sarah Gordon is going to play Sadie Dunhill.
Yeah, not familiar with her.
Who is, of course, I don't think I've seen much she's done.
No.
But Sadie is the girl that our main character, Jake, falls in love with when he's back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Sherry Jones, who's going to play Lee Harvey Oswald's mother. I personally don't remember her much from the book. Did she play a big part, the mother?
No, I don't think she was in the book that much, but in real life, she did play a very big part in Oswald's life. So, and Terry Jones is a great actor. She's mostly a Broadway actor, but she's done some great stuff with Awake and Cradle Will Rock, West Wing, 24. Most recently, the TV series Awake. I think she's, again, a great choice.
Yeah. Daniel Webber is going to play Lee Harvey Oswald. Him, I'm not familiar with.
No, me either.
But I think, just looking at him, I think they can make him look pretty much like Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, color his hair black.
Yeah.
Cut it short. Yeah, he should be very good as Oswald. I've looking at some pictures from him. He's an Australian actor. Again, they seem to be getting all the good roles lately.
Yeah.
His resume is not that long, so he's a relative newcomer. But it's good to mix. You want somebody with no baggage to take on such an important role. So I think it's good that they've cast a relative unknown. Sorry, Daniel, if you have had something good and I haven't heard of it. But just looking at his pictures, he can make a really good Lee Harvey Oswald, I think. Yeah,
and I think they would have to have someone that isn't that familiar from other parts to play, since this is a person who is everybody knows this person. So if, say, Bruce Willis would play him, it would be totally because you would only refer to him in Die Hard or stuff like that. So I think it's important that I picked the unknown for this part.
Yep.
Then we have George McKay will play Bill Turcotte, a bartender from the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And I must confess that I don't remember him very much from the book either.
No, he didn't have a very big part. So
I don't know him, the actors as well. So
yeah,
stunts.
I think most of the stuff we're getting now, these are most relatively unknown actors filling out the supporting roles, which is fine.
Yeah. So. Lucy Fry will play Lee Harvey Oswald's wife, and she's Russian. And I think from the picture I have on the site, she looks a bit Russian. So she could definitely work. Then we have Leon Rippey as Harry Dunning, a janitor from the school where Jake works in 2015.
Yeah,
and
he plays a very important part in the story. So
yeah. And he kind of looks like a janitor, so sorry.
Yeah, he's in Under the Dome. He was Ollie Dinsmore from the first season.
Yeah.
So he's a well-known character actor. I've seen him on lots of things. He's been in a lot of shows. So if you go through his resume, you're going to find TV shows that he's been on. Goes way back to 1983. He was in Firestarter too.
Yeah.
Blinded Agent. So there you go.
Yeah.
Good character actor. Great choice for that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, James Franco is playing Jake, that we know from before. And I know a lot of people think he's not right for the part. I have to confess, when I read the book, I imagined someone a little bit older. Mm-hmm. But I think he can pull it off. He's a good actor, and I know they can do anything they want now with makeup and stuff. So I'm not that worried about him. Yeah,
I agree with you. Like visually, I didn't picture that character looking like James Franco. But if you rewatch the first Planet of the Apes remake, he plays a pretty sympathetic character in that story too. So I definitely think he can pull it off. And maybe that's what they based their casting decision on.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's a big enough player in Hollywood that he really actively went after this part. I don't know, but I think he'll do a good job. Yeah, no worries there. I think in general this is a fantastic cast. When I saw that they got Chris Cooper for the diner, I thought that was great. It's just too bad that the part is not much bigger. I don't know if they're going to expand his role in this adaptation, but more Chris Cooper can only be a good thing. Yeah.
So we have big hopes for this one, and I haven't read any air dates, but I would guess it will be pretty soon.
Probably, late this year or early next year.
Yeah, since the cast is set, and they will probably start shooting pretty soon. So, hopefully before the year is over.
Yep, looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. All right,
yep.
And then the big bomb that dropped this week was the Ka is a wheel that keeps turning, and that's what we've been getting with the Dark Tower movies. The last time we talked about this, Ron Howard had been attached to it, and again he still seems to be attached to it, but this time Sony has stepped in to the ring with MRC to share the financial costs of this hopeful adaptation of the Dark Tower, and it's not quite clear, but it looks like they're still going with the plan of doing a movie and a TV series. They call it a complementary TV series, but I think they're going to bridge each movie with a TV series. At least I hope that's the plan, because I don't really understand how you could do the movies and have a complementary series, because that sounds like it runs in parallel instead of actually bridging the movies. Yeah, but you could do movies like in present time, and when you tell Roland's when he's young, you could do that as a TV series, and you could have them separated. Mm-hmm. So you could only watch either one if you want to, or both. Okay, so that's an interesting idea, but could work. Yeah, that's a potential. I much prefer that they bridge the movies with the TV series, so I'd see two TV series, 3 movies, but we'll have to see how that goes. I think that can be a problem for at least us who doesn't live in the US, if you depend on seeing a movie and then you have to see the TV show before the second movie. Yeah. And I mean, here often we are sometimes months after or years after. So it would have to be timed better to support the non-US audience. And I think that could be a problem for the studio. Yeah, well, what I'm seeing there is because of the partnership with Sony, and Sony is very big into streaming. They would probably offer this through their video service. So
Yeah.
you could probably get it through PlayStation Now. So because MRC does do a variety of media, I guess they're behind what I'm seeing here. They're behind Ted 2, Beyond, amongst other things. So I'm betting that, and they're behind Chappie, Fast and Furious, House of Cards on Netflix. So I'm bet you that this will show up on Netflix or something instead of standard TV. So hopefully, because they must be aware of that issue, Hans, if they're going to do it. This is a global that they have to reach for. So they can't, like you said, they can't show a movie and then only show the TV show in the United States, because then that will hurt the box office for the second movie. So I see this as a multi. I see this has to be a global release, and I bet you this will be on Netflix or Sony will stream it or something like that. So
yeah, and I think the way Netflix do that, they release the entire season as one.
Yes.
At the same time, that would work very, very good.
Yes, they're just doing that. Just happened this Friday with the Daredevil series.
Yeah, and that one was available here in Sweden as well.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it'll be something along the same lines.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a new script for the first movie, and it says it focuses on the gunslinger, Roland and Jake. So that's good. Akiva Goldsmith, who's been attached to this project through a couple iterations, I think, is still attached. And now we find out that Jeff Pinkner, who most recently did the Fringe television series, is also involved in this. So that's exciting news. I'm a big Fringe fan, so I thought Jeff Pinkner did a relatively excellent job with the especially the last 2 seasons, which he ran by himself. He shared the other 3 with another showrunner, and we're seeing that this is going to be fast-tracked. So Sony is looking for a franchise. I mean, they've kind of revitalized themselves with their new deal with Marvel with their Spider-Man character. They're going to reboot that character. He's going to turn back to a teenager, but outside of that, they have to do some rebuilding with the Spider-Man character, I think, because of the reception of, even though it made money, the Spider-Man 2 movie was not well received, so they have to retool that, and this Marvel deal is part of that. And now they need another series to go along with that, and The Dark Tower is where it looks like they're putting their money. So again, the casting is all up in the air. We have no idea if Bardem is still attached to this or not. I'm trying not to get too excited again, but because we've been around this track so many times now. But
yeah, actually, when I noticed this news, I first saw a post on Facebook that took me to this article, and I read it. And first, I didn't believe it. I thought this must be some older article or something like that.
An old April Fool's joke.
Yeah, exactly. But then I posted it, and just within minutes after I posted it, my mailbox exploded with people who linked to this, and look at this. So, but at first it was foreign to me that I would actually go around this wheel again.
Yeah.
But one thing that stands out to me when I read this text is that it says that Sony will distribute what is planned to be the first in a series of movies.
Right.
And that indicates to me that they are doing one movie now and seeing how that works. And if it works well, they will do another one. The thing that can be a problem with this one is, with this way of doing it, is that they will have to wait for the first movie to see if it works. And that will take more time to get another movie done. And as we have talked about earlier, we have the problem with Jake, and the kid who playing him will be aging. So if they're going to do 7 movies, or maybe 4 movies and 3 TV series, I think they will have problems with that if they isn't working faster.
Yeah, hopefully, if this does turn out to be solid and they move ahead with it, at some point somebody will ask that question, because that's been my burning question ever since we've started talking about adapting this work. How are you going to keep Jake from aging over the time that you need? Because this is like, you're looking at like 10 years or maybe even more that. And for Jake to age, it just will take away so much power from the story, because this is his character only maybe goes from to 10 to 11 in the story. And what happens to him, you just don't want that to be diluted by having him 20 years old when he gets to that point.
No.
You know? So it's kind of like what happened with Bag of Bones when they made the girl older by a couple of years. It just really kills the poignancy of the story.
Yeah, I guess they could find a family that has 3 sons with a couple of years in between that are looking about the same, that they can replace the older one with the younger one as the movie goes.
Yeah, or
With makeup, they can make them look the same.
Yeah, or they have to maybe get the kid actor to record all his lines and they digitally put his face on other actors. That would be expensive. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to address that. I mean, maybe they should cast, even if they cast a kid that's like younger than Jake starts in the book, so that he's only 8, goes from like maybe 7 to 14. That would kind of work, but still, they'd have to shoot pretty fast still. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Well, we're excited once again about the Dark Tower, and that's always a good thing. And Sony is these are big players. These are not small companies that are involved in this. So, and it's nice that Ron Howard's still attached, and we'll just have to see and keep our fingers crossed and hope that this plays out. So it'll be awesome if it does. Yeah,
and it would feel very strange if it didn't, because I mean, Sony must have noticed the problems that has been with this one previously.
Yeah.
And so hopefully they have had that in consideration when they agreed to do it.
Yeah.
So they should have thought of everything with the cost and every stuff like that.
Yeah.
Before they go out with this announcement. So it would be very strange if they now in a month say, "Oh, it's too expensive."
Mm-hmm.
They must have thought about that already, I think. So
yeah.
So hopefully it's happening this time.
Hopefully.
Yeah, or not. We'll see, depending on what the end result will be.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that's the end of the movie news.
Yes, and we are moving on to book news. And one of the items is that it was released. A new paperback edition of Dr. Sleep will be released in the US. This is really nothing strange. It happens all the time with books. But what's a little bit strange with this one is that they have moved away from the covers they have done. This book has always had some kind of container or something and a lot of smoke and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this time they actually have a photo of a girl on it. So it's very different cover, and personally I'm not so fond of it. I think I like the other ones better.
Mm-hmm. Definitely differentiates itself from the hardcover version. If that was their goal, then they've done that. But to me, this almost looks like a variation of the recent version of Bag of Bones that they released, or the poster for Bag of Bones with that girl floating in the water.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that, and it sort of reminds me of Firestarter a little bit too.
Yeah.
It's calling up a lot of images, but I agree. I prefer the hardcover edition for sure. Yeah.
And I have problems with covers that have actual photos of people.
Yeah.
It's okay if it. I remember
if it's a minor character or something.
Yeah, and Hodder released a series of covers with for Under the Dome, and each cover had a person looking up at the dome, and that is okay to me because that is not a specific character. That's just someone that's trapped under the dome that's looking up, and it's different. But here it's very clear that it's our main character that's portrayed on the book.
Yeah.
And in those cases, I'm not very fond of when they take actual photo of a person, because I like more to make up my own mind how that person look, or maybe if they have an illustration, because that's different.
Yeah.
I don't like covers with photos.
No, I don't either. I agree with you, because it locks your imagination down to that look. And I'm looking at this picture of the girl. It's not how I really imagined that character looking in the book. So
no.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
All right, what do we got next? Oh, yes. Bizarre Bad Dreams is slowly, as the year unwinds, more information is trickling out about this collection. We know that it's coming out in November of this year. November 3rd is the release date, and it will be released as a hardback, a trade paperback for Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. And of course, the new but always present ebook and digital downloads. We know that it has 20 stories. Some are brand new, some have been previously published. And also the thing that I really enjoy in these collections is King is going to give us an introduction to each story and autobiographical. Let's try that again. Autobiographical comments on their origins, which I always like, but I like to read them after I read the story. So
Yeah.
that's my only thing. Because again, like you with the cover of a picture of a person, I don't like to be given the background of a story until after I've read it. So
No, I agree totally with you.
yeah.
And if you do it that way, you can reveal a lot more that you don't want to reveal before you have read the story. So it's also preferred by that, so you don't spoil the story, and you can tell more about it. So
Go to Hans' site and get a list of some of the brief outlines of some of the stories. We've mentioned them off and on. Though the one that I'm not familiar with, and I assume it's a new story, is the one about a columnist who kills people by writing their obituaries. That is a cool idea. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. So
yeah, and that is so far the only unpublished that we know of obits, and you can also count in Drunken Firework if you want to, but that one will have been released when the book is released. So
yeah.
You will be able to read that, and Bad Little Kid will be there as well.
And
that is, and Bad Little Kid is unpublished in the US, or in English at least. But so that will be a new story to many of us.
Yeah, yeah. So it's shaping up to be an awesome collection, and it's hard to believe. We're not that far away. I mean, we first got Finders Keepers, but man, oh man, this year's just flying. It's already April.
Yeah, yeah. And we have like 8 known stories in this book, and so there's still 12 left to be announced.
All right.
So we have a lot of good stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, somebody on your post, they're just I guess this is kind of like their fantasy wish list of stories I'd like to see in there. But the one that jumps out to me is The Crate. I'd like to see that.
Yeah,
that's from Creepshow, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Has that been previously released? I don't think it has. I don't think it has. No. Was it in one of the Shivers or something like that? Maybe collections.
Crate Fantasy Annual 3.
Oh, okay.
1981, the text version.
Okay, that's probably a magazine though, right? Or is that a book? Yeah. So
I think it's some kind of thicker magazine, I would guess.
Yeah. Okay, but so an old story, to get an old story like that in this collection would be awesome for sure.
Yeah, but I'm hoping for more new stories as well.
Yeah,
because it's always, I mean, we have read some of the so-called unpublished stories that has been published in like magazines 30 years ago. So even if they are unpublished in a Stephen King book, they have still been published. So. A lot of us have read them, so I'm hoping for more than one new story.
Yeah, and just for those keeping track at home, unpublished stories equals 1, published stories equals 7, unknown equals 12.
Yeah.
So that's where we stand right now with Bazaar of Bad Dreams. And
the
more I say that title, the more I like it.
Yeah, I've actually loved it from the beginning.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have been critical to it, but I think it's a great title, I think.
Yeah.
I like it.
I wonder if that's the title of one of the stories.
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
Yeah.
Has it ever been in one collection? Has the name of the book been the same as the story?
Well, just after
Shift.
sunset, wasn't it?
No. It's not story, is it?
No, I thought Night Shift was in Night Shift. Isn't there a Night Shift story?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Okay, we can look that up, or some of our listeners.
We have to leave something for our listeners to do.
Yeah.
What's next?
Up next is the UK. Hodder and Stoughton has released a cover for Drunken Fireworks. And what's interesting with this one is that it will actually not be published in physical form from them. They will only have it as download. So it's interesting that they have a cover for it. But and in the US it will be released on CD and download. But in the UK only as a download. And the cover really doesn't. It's just red text on a blue background. So it doesn't say much about what it's about.
No.
But it has been said on both Simon & Schuster's site and Hodder and Stoughton that it will involve people shooting fireworks at each other from different sides of a lake. So it's we talked about that in a couple of podcasts ago that we speculated if it could be that story. So it seems to be that story.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like the Hatfields versus the McCoys or something like that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And our last piece of news is the hardcover edition of Joyland. Quite interesting. And you can see it up at Hans's site. And again, I don't know, like it doesn't really represent the story to me.
No.
I like some of the illustrations that are included, but the cover is, I mean, that's the style, the brand that Hardcase has gone with, but it seems pretty atypical for a King book to me. But for those of you out there that are collectors, I guess you'll want to get this hardcover edition. I don't know. Are you planning to get it, Hans? Or
hopefully I will get a review copy of it.
Right.
But I think this could be interesting for those who collect hardbacks.
Yeah.
Because this has only been released in paperback and a limited hardcover that was fairly low number, and I think it was maybe not that expensive, but I think it was quite hard to find a copy of it.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for those who wants to have all the books in hardcover to get a hardcover of this one.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, the illustrations are what differs this book from the others.
Oh, okay.
The illustration that is in this one is not the same that was in the limited, if I have understood it right. So if you want to collect it, have it all, you have to have this one as well.
So there you go, collectors.
Yes.
Another book to track down and buy. I personally don't think I will get it myself, but
no. And I must say that I wish Hardcase Crime would use the map that they have over the amusement park and do some fun promotional stuff with it. I actually, when the book was released, I took this map and I tilted it so it was in landscape format, put the text right and printed it out, folded it, and it looked exactly like one of those maps you can get when you get to an amusement park and you want to find out where all the rides are.
Right.
And I put it on my desk and I took a photo of it and I put it online just for fun. And I got so many questions. Where do you get that? Oh, I want one. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I just did it. It was just a fun thing.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of those natural promotional stuff that they could print and send out, and people would go crazy over them. So
yeah,
it's a fun thing.
Well, maybe you should shoot them an email.
Yep. I think I did when I did that.
Oh, okay.
So they would know what it was when people started mailing them and asking for the map.
Right.
And I think I posted it, and I think I wrote something like "just spent a day at Joyland" or something like that. And people started asking me, "Where is it? Where is it? Where can I find it?" So you have to be careful with what you put out there.
Good stuff.
Yep, it's fun.
Okay, well, that was quite a boatload of news.
Yes.
Exciting times again for us Stephen King fans. A lot of things we're looking forward to, and a lot of things that we're hoping come to fruition. So, yeah, what can we say? These have been, for the time that we've been doing the podcast, these have been pretty heady days to be a Stephen King fan.
Yeah, seems like we will have a lot of stuff to talk about in the upcoming year.
That's right. All right, so that is the news.
This is great. What's our job? We'd like drive around, pick up stiffs or what?
It's time for reviews from the night shift. As Han mentioned off the top, we're going to go back to Carrie again for a couple of reasons. One, we thought it would be a good idea, if you know, we've mentioned in previous podcasts that Cemetery Dance has started up a website, Stephen King Revisited, and they're going through all the King, they've not all of them, but the major King books. And we thought that it would be a good idea for us to piggyback off of that. And so we're going back to starting with Carrie, but we're not going to review the two movies that are probably best known by everybody. Of course, the original with Sissy Spacek and the recent remake, I guess is it 2 years ago now, with Chloe Moretz. Yeah. We're going to look at two other Carrie movies. And one is the Carrie remake, which was done in 2002, and the other one is a theatrical release that was done in, was it 19? It says 1999. Is that right? I thought it was later.
Yeah,
but
I think it was.
Yeah, 1999. Carrie 2, The Rage. So we're going to go through those two movies, and then we're going to talk about our thoughts on the whole Carrie story with the perspective of some of the things that were brought up on the Stephen King Revisited website, which I highly recommend you check out. There's some great stuff there, and a lot of other writers who were obviously influenced by King are reporting there as well. So with that all being said and done, let's take a walk down memory lane. And actually, I have to be honest, this is the first time I've seen this version. I might have tried to watch it before. I don't remember, but somehow this just sort of flew under my radar. But we have a 2002 TV remake of Carrie. And Hans?
Yeah.
What did you think of this movie?
Well, some of it was good and some of it was bad, and some things were horrible. I think they definitely looked at the original movie when they did this, because a lot of stuff seems to be just taken from that movie and redone here. And the biggest difference is that they have structured the whole movie as if the police is interrogating the survivors from the ending of the show where Carrie is killing people, and they are telling the story to the detectives. And that part I'm not that fond of. I don't like that. I think it's I don't know, it didn't work for me at all. And as Carrie, we see Angela Bettis, and I think in general she did a good job, but I think what threw me off a little bit here is that for one thing, she seemed to be the only kid in the entire school that was a bit off. And I think from everybody else was looking great and being perfect. And from time to time, I think she was a little bit too weird. It was like if they really wanted to make us see that, oh, this girl is twisted. She's had a tough upbringing, and she's really suffering. And sometimes they twisted it too much, so that she almost I don't know, she would look like more like crazy than like a victim of a crazy mother. Mm-hmm. So I think they twisted it a little bit too much from time to time. And I think that's my general thought of the movies.
Okay.
Of the movie. Yeah.
All right. That's some excellent points there. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't, but that's going to make for some good conversation here.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that Hans was able to procure from Shout Factory because these two movies are just are being released, re-released through Shout Factory on Blu-ray in a double feature pack. So I've got Carrie and The Rage both in one Blu-ray case. They're on separate discs, and the nice thing about this is that they both have commentaries added. The Rage 2 has a new two commentaries. It has a new one added. So listening to the commentaries is always interesting because it makes you look at the movie through different eyes. And the thing with the Carrie, the remake version, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Bryan Fuller of the most recent Hannibal fame wrote the script for this and was the executive producer on it. And obviously compared against something like Hannibal, it's nowhere near as intense or as striking as that production has been so far. But it was interesting listening to the director of this movie and the writer talking about they were trying to make a version of this film that was scary for today's generation, And that was the hook for the director, because he said when he was mulling over whether or not to take the project, he was watching the movie with his daughters, and he wanted to get their opinion of it, and they didn't find it scary at all. And he says, "Well, didn't you find that last shot with the famous shot with the hand coming out of the ground scary?" And he said, "Oh no, because we knew it was a dream sequence because of the way it was shot, that something was going to happen. Then plus the camera focused on the ground, so we knew something was going to come out of the ground." So, that just shows you how sophisticated audiences have become to all the movie tricks, because that is totally true. If you watch the original movie, that's exactly how it plays out. But because we'd never seen it before, it catches people off guard, or it did back in the day. Of course, now you have to work so much harder to scare audiences. So the other thing I found very interesting was how this movie was shot, and it was done all through handheld cameras, which is, as you know, was the same style that Frank Darabont chose for The Mist. So, and that gives it that documentary feel. And I really liked the look of this movie. I liked the fact that they really got in tight on the actors' faces so that you could see their all their emotions and everything. And some of the angles were done off kilter to, make your viewpoint more uneasy and things like that. And I really thought, from that perspective, it was well done. I also thought it was really well cast. A lot of actors on this version went on to some pretty big roles. You've got the character of Chris Harden, was played by Emily DeRaven, who of course went on to star in Lost as Claire. We've got the girl that plays Sue Snell. She had a big role in Battlestar Galactica, the remake. The police officer who scenes you didn't like is, of course, David Keith, who was in Firestarter.
Yeah.
And Angela Bassett, who was cast as Carrie. I agree with you. She was a little one of the big beefs that you always have with these ugly duckling stories is that you can tell right off the bat that, with a little makeup, or if they take the glasses off, that this girl is really gorgeous. You never got that with her. I'm not saying that Angela is not an attractive girl, but she was, as you said, she was played a little too spooky, or a little off kilter, so that even her transformation, it was hard to buy that she was, that the boy, who was it, Todd? Tommy Ross would find her attractive, or that everybody else would. I mean, she cleaned up nicely, but she was still a little too off in how she looked with her gown and everything like that. So I can kind of see that. I agree with you on that criticism. I did enjoy how they restructured the flow of the story so that we were examining it as an investigation after the fact, with David Keith playing the police officer. So I didn't mind that part. I thought that Patricia Clarkson, who is a pretty good actress in her own right, her version of Margaret White wasn't as strong as in other versions, but I don't really think it's her fault. I just think it was the way they wrote her scenes with Carrie. They never really got to the meat of the relationship between the two that much. There was only that one confrontation scene, and by that point, Carrie was already using her powers, so her mother's power over Carrie was already sort of negated. So there wasn't that. I didn't feel the struggle between the two of them as much as I did in the other versions. What else do we have here about this? Go ahead.
I think that the reason that they did this interrogation part at all, I think, because this was actually meant as a pilot for an ongoing TV series.
Right.
And I think if it had, it didn't get ratings enough to continue. But if it had, I think that the police officer
Yep.
might have been in it and continues to chase Carrie.
Yeah.
And that would have been the setting for the coming episodes. So I think that might have been a part why they changed the structure of the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. They wanted to sort of turn it into a fugitive, or or what I actually heard from saw an interview with Angela Bettis is that the plan was to sort of turn it into a Thelma and Louise movie with her and Sue Snell on the run. But that if I have 3 knocks, I have 3 knocks on this version of the story. One is the ending, which isn't really an ending. They're just all of a sudden it just kind of stops. The other thing is the Sue Snell character, who is played by Candice McClure, and she's from Battlestar Galactica, as where I first saw her. Is her character's motivations beyond, the initial setting up Tommy to take Carrie to the date, that because she felt sorry for her. That part I made sense, but then after that, the fact that which she would do all these other things for Carrie doesn't make any sense to me. Like, they didn't establish why she would drive her all the way to Florida, for instance.
No.
So her and her character seemed very harsh or antagonistic for no reason. Like in the interrogation room, she's very aggressive against the officer for the and she doesn't seem upset at all. And like he even says to her, it's only been 2 weeks, and she makes that sound like that's all the time in the world. But if anybody's lost somebody or gone through a major tragedy, like that, you just don't get over something like that in that short of a time frame.
No.
I didn't buy. So her character, I didn't think was very well written. The other thing that didn't work for me, and this is just a limitation of the technology of the time, but CGI effects around the year 2000 or in the early 2000s had that really plasticky kind of video game-ish look to it, and that really stands out in several sequences here, especially with at the climax with there's cars being thrown around, a truck goes rolling down the street and stuff like that. None of that stuff really worked for me. I think they should have just pulled back from that, and less is more in some cases. Yeah. And again, the whole prom scene, it didn't, to me, properly represent Carrie's state of mind. The more versions of that scene I see, the more I appreciate what Brian De Palma did with his version, because in that you could really feel her striking out at the specific people that tormented her in school. And this one, it was much more random, and stuff was just flying around for no specific reason. It was, you could say, well, that's the state of her mind. She's like in a whirlwind. And I also didn't like that they put her in a trance. When she was doing that, I think that breaks the connection between her realization, like she knows, and that's some of the things I did like, is the fact that she was much more questioning and curious about her powers. She was much more, curious of why Tommy was asking her out for a date, and Tommy was trying to figure out, why are you from Sue? Why are you asking me to do this? So the characters were much more intelligent about this situations, but again, when they get to the prom sequence, they just, I don't know, the staging just doesn't ever work for me the way it does or affect me the same way. I guess because we've seen so many other movies now since then with, people with telekinetic powers and that. But Brian De Palma's, even like the split screen stuff that he does, it still works. And you've got that, he does that like single psycho violin riff every time she uses her power. And I think that's a big piece of what's missing with these other versions. They don't make the music kind of become, the instances where she's using her power. Like every time, I know you don't want to repeat the same thing over and over, but sometimes when something works really well, I think you should try to imitate that or copy it in some way. And I think De Palma's version still works the best just because of that psycho violin riff.
Yeah.
It just sells it. it's kind of like when somebody punches, you hear the impact, right? And with that riff, you feel the impact of her powers. So yeah, this is a mixed bag for me. There's a lot of things to like about this, and I agree with you. The ending really bums me out a bit. I know it was set up as a TV pilot, but they should have for DVD release. It would have been nice if they would have shot a more definitive end. Because like that whole thing in the bathtub, I didn't buy that she could be alive after all that time. Like that didn't make any sense. So, but in general, I thought this was really well cast, and I love the way it was shot with those handheld cameras getting into everybody's face. It made it seem very like real, like the Mist, you know. I really like the shooting style of it, so I was quite impressed with this, and I'm surprised that the rating that, you know, it's got like a 5.5 on IMDb, and I would rate this. I like this version better than the 2013 version, to be honest.
Yeah, same here. I definitely like this, and I think
that's interesting. I thought you were going to say no.
No, I didn't like the last one.
Okay.
So I think the characters in the last one, you forgot them as soon as the movie ended.
Yeah.
Here at least you remember the characters a little bit longer.
Yeah. Now it might be retroactively because most of the actors cast in this movie went on to become more famous after this movie was released. So that's why we're watching it now and say, oh, there's somebody from Lost. There's somebody from, this guy was in Firestarter. That guy was in this. But
yeah, could be.
I just thought this movie was really well cast and shot. My questions or issues are around some of the story choices that we've talked about, and the limitations of a TV budget kind of showed up its face. I really do like that they kept her. I don't like her being in a trance, but I like the fact that she kept her hands basically still the whole time she was using her powers. I don't like this waving of the hands, this Empire or Jedi Knight kind of stuff. She just the only thing is she kept her hands so rigid. I think she could have relaxed her arms a little bit, but I like the fact that she stayed very still when she was using her power. I thought that was cool. And again, her walking through the town and everything around her kind of being destroyed. I know what they were trying to show with her powers and that, but I think they could have dialed that down a little bit. But and like the pig. I think the pig scene was probably the best version of any film version I've seen. Everybody sort of chickening out, and it was up to is it Billy? I think it's Billy is the character, right? Yeah, Billy Nolan. I thought even though that guy was pretty limited, I thought the way they shot his face and the way his body language worked really well, especially during that pig scene when he, started sledgehammering the pig. So I thought I really enjoyed this version quite a bit more than I thought I was going to. And I don't believe I've ever seen this version before. The other thing I didn't like was right off the bat those CGI comets or meteors falling. They looked so fake. It was like
they were really, really fake.
Yeah, really fake looking. So I don't know why they put that in, but
the stones rained.
Yeah, the stones that didn't look too well. So,
but I think I have to when I saw the ending and thought about this as an ongoing series.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I could think about was the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Yeah.
I thought they would have to do the same settings, that she would travel from town to town. This police officer would follow.
Yeah.
Something would happen. She would cause havoc and go on. So all I could think about was this green creature.
Except she was red.
Yeah, exactly.
Pig blood.
And that is also interesting. In all the Carrie movies, the bucket of blood seems to it's so much bigger inside than outside.
Yeah.
And I think this movie takes the prize. If you see the bucket when it's standing on the roof.
Yeah, in the rafters.
It's just a regular bucket.
Yeah.
But when it splashes down, it's like the stage is all it's like a bathtub of blood has been poured out, and
Yeah.
I can understand that they would do a lot of blood, but this time they overdid it too much. It was like they were raining blood. So
yeah,
and I think it's a bit sad that they exaggerate it so much. It's almost becomes silly.
yeah. Okay, that's all I had for this one. You got anything else you want to add to this?
No. I think we agree on most things. Some different.
Yeah.
But I think we can agree both on that it's a good thing that it never made it to a TV show.
Yeah. And
I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah, and the problem with a lot of this King's TV adaptation material during this time period is I was getting this. I thought for sure I was going to be seeing something with Malcolm McDowell in it, and then I realized no, you're confusing this with the Firestarter stuff that they were doing. So that's something else we'll have to tackle at some point in the future, because that I have seen, and that was kind of set up as the same sort of fugitive thing too. But that's for another podcast.
Yes.
Okay, so this brings us to a true theatrical sequel to the first Carrie movie. And Hans, before I get your thoughts on it, I just want to make some comments from the commentary that I picked up on that. I don't know if I tell them to you ahead of time are going to change your mind at all, but kind of like with this version of the movie, Carrie 2, the producer and or the director and the cinematographer are on one of the audio tracks, and they had a definite vision of how they wanted to shoot this movie as well. This is more on a theatrical version, and the interesting thing about this movie is that the cinematographer on this one was the same one for Christine. So he worked with John Carpenter on that movie, and they went for a very specific look. With this one, hard-edged at times, but they really well lit the faces, I thought. And the other interesting things was that the director came into the picture 3 days after shooting started, because there were creative differences with the original director. So when she came in, she the script had already had been written, and she was not allowed to do any rewrites or any recasting. So she was basically locked into finishing material that was somebody else's vision. So with that in mind, and the other big thing here is that one of the characters from the original movie is in this movie, and that is, of course, Amy Irving as Sue Snell. So with all that in mind, I don't know if that changes your opinion of the movie at all, but what were your thoughts on this movie?
Well, since it's supposed to be a sequel, I really liked that they actually made it a sequel. Often when they do sequel, they just use the name and tell a totally different story. But here they had a continuation from the first movie. They had clips from the first movie. They had the same character as in the first movie, as you mentioned, Sue Snell. They had a logical explanation to the connection between Rachel and Carrie. So I think for that, they should definitely have a big plus that they actually did a sequel to the first movie, and they had logical explanation to where they were going. But that is about what I like with it. The rest I don't care a lot about. I think that the plot is pretty silly. That these jocks are collecting girls in a book and giving points for if they can have sex with them. And
that was based on a true incident?
It was?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a terrible thing.
Yes.
But and I think that I don't really buy that Rachel would fall for one of them, and no, I just can't. I don't buy the plot of it. I think it's a pretty ridiculous movie, actually. And that she has these powers, and she has this tattoo that grows on her, and no, I just think it's too much. I don't like it. Do you like anything about it?
The problem with this movie is it was made in 1999, and it really locks into a specific pop culture fandom, and that is the it's got the goth elements in it, and the music is very very much from the 90s, Allison in Chains and things of that, Nine Inch Nails. So it feels very dated, which out of all the versions of Carrie I've seen, this one feels the most dated already. And it's I thought it was well shot, and I think for the most part I was actually engaged in the story because I don't know how I knew ahead of time or something, but for whatever reason I knew that this was based on a true incident about a football team, trying to run, having a contest of how many girls the guys could sleep with, and the ratings that they would give them. So that part of it actually worked for me. And again, overall, I thought this movie was pretty well cast. It's very interesting. Like you see Mina Suvari, who plays Lisa, who's the girl that jumps off the roof. She later on became best known for her role in American Beauty. She's the girl that's in all the rose petals on the poster. So, and it was a little off-putting to see the one guy, Eric, was Zachary Ty Bryan from Home Improvement. I kept on expecting Tim Allen to pop out on the screen at any moment. But I thought the girl that was played Rachel. She had an interesting look to her. She was very gothy, and I thought she and Jason or Jesse actually had pretty good chemistry together. So, I mean, it was, because of its datedness, it was definitely a step down from the other stories. But from an acting and casting perspective, I didn't see any bad performances in this. My biggest beef would be the use of Amy Irving as Sue Snell. I liked how they tied her character into the other movie, obviously, and I thought it was actually cool that she took Rachel to visit the the old high school that had been burnt down and that was still there. Yeah. But like she's dealing with the tragedy of what happened in the original movie. So I'm expecting some sort of arc where she's trying to do her best to help this girl whose father is the same father of Carrie, which is an interesting storyline that could be followed in another movie. Because I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, it's two daughters from birthed by two women who are religious fanatics. I mean, could this father be Randall Flagg or something like that? Like that would be a cool story. Yeah. But. Yeah. But they, but getting back to Sue Snell's, Amy Irving's character, so I'm expecting her to have some sort of, either some sort of redemption or tragic conclusion. And she has a tragic conclusion, but it's just so abrupt. She basically just turns in to a delivery device to get Rachel's mom to the scene of this party where the devastation is taking place. So I really thought that they built up a great storyline for her, but then they just wasted it in the last act of the movie, which was probably my biggest disappointment. Now I understand the director was locked into the previous story, but I thought that was an interesting storyline that I was hoping it would be played out, but it wasn't. So, but then the movie makes some choices that, I think really undermine it. That tattoo that they had on their arms with the heart and the ivy, and then when Rachel's using her powers at the end, why that thing was growing, the vines were stretching over her body, like there was no purpose to that.
No.
Visually it didn't add anything to it, and if they were trying to use it as a representation of the power spreading through her body, I think there was better ways to do it. And of course, this setting in this fancy house where she goes nuts, it felt so artificial and manufactured to be used as a set for Carrie to destroy rather than a believable place. Like, how many houses do you know like that? You know, like a school gym is one place to see destruction, but this place just seems like it was built to allow for the most bizarre and tragic, kind of like Final Destination mouse death trap things that you could get.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that at all. And then the ending, you know, like I just hate it when, like, if there's not a jump scare, if there's not an organic jump scare in a movie, then don't do it because it doesn't work anymore. People are, you know, like the director from the other movie, her daughters were, you know, they know when a jump scare's coming. And in this movie, you knew that the guy was already asleep, so that when she stepped into the room, it was a dream. So it was kind of like, why bother?
Yeah.
You know,
totally waste.
Totally waste. And then, they had the deleted alternate ending, and in that one, oh my God, they're so lucky that version didn't come out, because in that one, when when Rachel steps into the room, she opens her mouth and a snake comes out of it, and then it wraps itself around the boy, and then it goes down his throat, and it's like, well, what the heck is that all about?
Yeah.
It's just totally bizarre. We're like, why? Yeah, like it didn't make any sense at all. So. But I can't say that this is a terrible movie. It's not really good. It's just okay. And for the most part, I thought it was well done from a technical standpoint. I thought it was well acted. And I thought that the two leads, and Sue Snell, were interesting characters. I even thought her mother was an interesting character in the limited amount of time that she had. And it was interesting that they called the asylum that she was at Arkham Asylum, which of course is you know, from Batman and H.P. Lovecraft. But I didn't hate it. If that's a compliment or not, I don't know. But you know, compared to the like Mercy that we reviewed last episode, these were like a breath of fresh air.
Well. And
I was really surprised at how the TV version, I really liked that one quite a bit, actually. More than the 2013 version.
Yeah, I agree on the TV version. That one is the second best after the original one.
Yeah.
If you remove the ending and if you would give it a proper ending, I mean, they could have probably cut it couple of minutes and just let it fade out, and that would have been better than that crazy ending. So, but that is an okay movie that I could imagine seeing again maybe sometime. But Carrie 2, The Rage, I think I would put that in the book stand and let it stay there for now. I think I'd seen it twice already, and I think that's one too many times. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I have to couch what I've just said if I don't have any desire or need to see the Carry the Rage again. That's for sure. But I didn't hate it, and I was expecting that it would be a painful experience to watch, and it wasn't.
I think it could be maybe what expectation you had before.
Probably,
as you say, you probably would expect a really lousy movie, and then it got a little bit better.
Yeah.
And when I saw it the first time, I think it was probably around when it was released.
Oh, okay.
And I had pretty high hopes for it and was disappointed. And I guess when I saw it this time, I already had 75% of my mind made up before I saw it. Unfortunately, but it's the way it is if you have seen the movie before. So it's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's more than fair. But my final thoughts would be for Stephen King fans who have not, for whatever reason, seen either of these movies. They're both definitely worth at least one viewing, and I think the 2002 TV version is actually probably worth a couple of viewings. I really like the shooting style. It really reminded me of The Mist. I just love that in-your-face kind of filming. It feels so much real, and Yeah, it was well acted, so definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, every King movie has to be seen at least once.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
some
the
more than
Mangler 3 and stuff like that.
well, yeah, but some are much more worth seeing once.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
the other ones you're just doing it out of a, you're rolling the dice and hoping for something good, and
yeah,
9 times out of
yeah.
10 it's not. But in this case, I was pleasantly surprised by both of them. So,
Yep.
alrighty.
Okay.
And as we mentioned off the top before we started, we were just going to do some further thoughts on Carrie in general from piggybacking off what they're doing over at the Stephen King site. And they break it down into what they do is for each book that they're approaching, Bev Vincent, who we've had on the podcast, provides like a warm-up article and gives the historical context of where King's headspace was at for each work that he's written, which we mentioned when we were talking about Bizarre Bad Dreams. I love it when they do that, and it's awesome to hear that King's doing that for those collection of short stories. There's not a lot in here that Bev provides that because I think out of all the books that is given context, I think Carrie is the one that gets the most because it's got that famous story that he threw the story in the garbage and his wife fished it out and rescued it. But I'm just wondering, like the genesis of the idea came from a couple of things that I wasn't aware of. One was that I'm trying to find it here. One started at it. Part of the genesis was, of course, he's mentioned that a couple of girls that he was going to school with that were picked on were sort of the genesis for the character, as well as he had taken a challenge from a friend in college to write a story from a female perspective, and he was a janitor, and he got because of that he got inside of a girl's locker room to see, what I guess that's when he saw the Tampax machine. I guess that's the genesis of where he got that from. So,
Yeah.
So that those are a couple of facts that I wasn't aware of, which are kind of cool to find out.
Yep. Otherwise, I think just Carrie is probably the book that's that we know most about how it happened, and because King has talked about it several times in readings and everything. So it's a story that's been told many times, but it's still fascinating how just this one act that she finds it in the trash can and brings it up could have started his career, and now, like, what is it, 40 years later, we sit here and we talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think that even if she hadn't found it and Carrie had been dumped in the trash, he would have succeeded with a different book, maybe a year or so after. So I think we would still have Stephen King, even if we didn't have Carrie. But it's interesting how these little things can create this huge thing.
Yeah, it's amazing how the little things can make such a big